Everyone in MAGA world is playing to an audience of one. Even if you are in the federal government, even if you are one of Donald Trump's cabinet secretaries, your job in his eyes is not to serve the American people, it is to always serve his interests, which is why it was surprising that Kash Patel did the opposite, contradicting Trump and admitting his lies. But what wasn't surprising is the fact that Donald Trump had a little Truth Social meltdown over that very fact. We are going to get into it all and some shocking updates on the Epstein files because we cannot stop talking about them. But before we get into it all, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that crazy Trump post and what Kash Patel admitted about it, I want to start with the perfect call out from Jamie Raskin of who Kash Patel really serves at all times and his cover-up of Trump's crimes.
Before you got in this job, you called for full release of Epstein files, telling podcaster Benny Johnson that the only reason the list was not released by DOJ and FBI was, quote, because of who's on that list. Upon your confirmation, you promised that, quote, there will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current Bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. This spring, you ordered hundreds of agents to pore over all the Epstein files, but not to look for more clues about the money network or the network of human traffickers. You pulled these agents from their regular counterterrorism or drug trafficking duties to work around the clock, some of them sleeping at their desks, to conduct a frantic search to make sure Donald Trump's name and image were flagged and redacted wherever they appeared, whether an email, a text, a letter, an interview, a photograph, or a video. In May, Attorney General Bondi reportedly told Trump that his name had indeed appeared multiple times throughout the Epstein files. And not long thereafter, in July, you and the Attorney General released a memo claiming that, quote, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. In a few short months, how did you go from being a crusader for accountability and transparency for the Epstein files to being a part of the conspiracy and cover-up? The answer is simple. You said it yourself, because of who's on that list. Donald Trump's relationship with Epstein over the years is well documented. A week ago, the Oversight Committee released Trump's disturbing birthday book note to Epstein, written over a drawing of a woman's naked body, referring to a, quote, wonderful secret. The Oversight Committee obtained the note from the Epstein estate, not from the FBI, raising questions again of whether the FBI has been withholding documents. While you're unleashing the FBI to cater to Trump's desire to shut down the Epstein inquiry, the first 9 months of the Trump presidency have seen a spate of political violence and domestic terror events.
Everyone in this administration is always looking out for what is in the best interest of Donald Trump. MAGA sees Trump as this guy willing to break the system. He is their righteous vengeance against the woke left. Well, if you're a farmer in the Midwest, I guess the woke left is China buying up your soybeans. And so now that woke is gone, you're broke and you have no money. If you're a Trump voter who had someone in their family who was here illegally, now maybe that family member is deported with no pathway to citizenship because Donald Trump never actually cared about you. And if you're one of the millions of Americans who Donald Trump is about to steal your health care away from, I don't know how dunking on the libs is going to keep you from getting sick. But I guess that's what MAGA has to figure out on their own, because ultimately it is about serving Donald Trump, it is about serving the grift, and it is about keeping MAGA distracted long enough where they don't realize any of what I just said, which is why Donald Trump is still talking about 2020, still talking about January 6th, and posted this, which Kash Patel had a different take on, but we'll get to that. Trump wrote on Truth Social, it was just revealed that the FBI had secretly placed, against all rules, regulations, and protocols and standards, 274 FBI agents into the crowd just prior to and during the January 6th hoax. This is different from what Director Chris Wray stated over and over again. That's right, as it now turns out, FBI agents were at and in the January 6th protest, acting as agitators and insurrectionists, but certainly not as law enforcement officials. I want to know how each and every one of these so-called agitators are and what they were up to on that now historic day. This is a tragedy, Trump is trying to say. We can never let this happen again to America. Okay, so we know that's a whole bunch of bullshit from Donald Trump because we're competent people. I'd also ask the question, So did you pardon those FBI agents? Wouldn't you know that you pardoned them because you pardoned everyone on January 6th? It doesn't make sense. But it made such little sense that even Kash Patel questioned what Donald Trump was saying. That's just questions. Fully pushed back on him, and it's got Trump pretty pissed. Keystone Cash tanks Trump's insane January 6th conspiracy theory. Top MAGA lackey Kash Patel has made the uncharacteristically bold move of intervening in Donald Trump's mad and rapidly mounting campaign of vengeance against his political opponents. Trump launched into a vicious True Social diatribe Saturday afternoon against former FBI Director Christopher Wray, who he slammed for supposedly lying about the presence of Bureau personnel in the crowds outside the Capitol building on January 6th. Why Trump's biggest gripe about federal agents allegedly staging an insurrection was they'd broken the FBI's rules, regulations, protocols, and standards is unclear. In any case, current FBI Chief Patel has since spoke with Fox News Digital to try and clear up some of the confusion. Agents were sent into a crowd control mission after the riot was declared by Metro Police, something that goes against FBI standards, he explained, blasting apart the president's claim of a bureau coup while backing his concerns over a lack of respect for established procedures. So you heard it from Kash Patel. This wasn't some coup by the FBI. They weren't trying to antagonize people. They weren't put there purposely before the riot started to make sure they could gin up the crowd so people could, go to jail for breaking the law? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't understand. Also, if Donald Trump had won the election, couldn't he just then pardon it? So why did even... None of it makes sense. Like, you can't even try to grapple with this. All is clear is that Kash Patel, for some reason, is coming out against what Donald Trump said. And it's interesting because if Kash Patel is saying the same thing that Christopher Wray said in breaking with Trump, does Kash Patel need to go to prison now, according to Donald Trump? Like, is he also going to be indicted for saying something different than Trump? I don't know. This is all crazy, but it just goes to show it's difficult to find a through line, like a clear argument for what MAGA is saying when Donald Trump is just kind of jumping around the conspiracies that he wants to talk about. But I need to say something on the note of Kash Patel. The next Democratic president, as I've said again and again, and I'll continue to, needs to govern with a just vengeance. And that means firing Kash Patel on day one. He has a 10-year term as FBI director that should not be respected because he does not command any respect. And I'm just going to keep saying that ahead of a 2028 primary that I know is really far away. But I do not want us to forget what this Trump presidency was like, even while we are still in it then, because we're focused on the future. And I know there's going to be a lot of talk of the future, and that's important. But I think that we learned in 2024, if we do not correctly process the present and understand the past, the future is going to fuck us as we are currently living in right now. So let's make that pretty damn clear. And let's also make clear an issue that Donald Trump wants to make the pass, but we won't let go away. And that's the Epstein files. And we have new updates from Jen Psaki right here.
Okay. Remember that day back in June when Elon Musk and Donald Trump's bromance very publicly crashed out? Can you believe that was June? And remember this tweet from that very day? Time to drop the really big bomb, Musk wrote. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Well, nearly 4 months have passed since then, and the Trump administration still has not released the Epstein files. The story goes on. But Democrats have been fighting tooth and nail to get their hands on whatever documents they can. And today, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released new documents obtained from Epstein's estate. This batch included flight logs and some of Epstein's daily schedules. Now, included in those documents are the names of some pretty powerful people, including Trump allies like billionaire Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, and yes, Elon Musk himself. As Epstein's calendar put it, reminder, Elon Musk to Island, December 6th. Is this still happening? Question mark. There you go. Well, I mean, okay then. It's there. And look, there's a running theme here. Every time the House Oversight Committee gets to work, something new comes to light. We've seen that over and over again. That's kind of the point. That's why they want all the files released. And there's been a big step forward in the House toward doing just that. The discharge petition to force a vote on a resolution to compel the release of the Epstein files is now on track to hit the required 218 signatures. Democrat Adelita Grijalva won a special election in Arizona on Tuesday, but she hasn't been sworn in yet. Grijalva and other Democrats have said Speaker Mike Johnson can swear her in at any moment, but that he's dragging his feet. 2 weeks ago, Johnson swore in another Democrat based on unofficial results, but now he's insisting on official results to come in before swearing in Adelita Grijalva. Funny how that works, isn't it? And yes, Grijalva thinks the Epstein petition is definitely a factor.
I'm sort of wondering why in 2 weeks the rules are so different, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm number 218.
Maybe. Maybe it does. I bet it does. Joining us now is Congressman Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California and member of the House Oversight Committee. As always, there's so much to ask you about. I just have to start by, can we just start on the irony that the Musk tweet was in some ways the spark that lit the match, and today we see a document with Elon Musk's name in it. What did you think when you saw that?
I'm just amazed how many powerful people does Jeffrey Epstein know? I mean, this is like the president of the United States. He's hanging out with Musk, with Bill Gates, with Peter Thiel. The list is endless. And this is why Americans are asking, what is behind this? And the reality is, okay, Elon issued a denial. He said, I wasn't at the island. You know what the best way to know is just release the files. Release all the files. Get all the evidence out there, and we'll have the facts out. But the drip, drip, drip actually is just feeding more concern that elite people are being protected.
No question about that. And in the interim, while they're dragging their feet, you guys are tirelessly pushing for more information. I mean, Steve Bannon is also mentioned in these documents. Your colleague, Ranking Member Robert Garcia, said back in July that he was a target for his 15 hours of Epstein footage, that in terms of a subpoena target. Are you going to ask the committee for a subpoena for him? I mean, is this somebody whose information and all of his footage would be of interest to the committee getting their hands on?
Absolutely. I mean, he talked to Epstein at a time where Epstein already had the plea deal. So he has very relevant information. Epstein's brother wanted the information that Bannon had. But we should have complete transparency, and we should have the release of the files. And, Massey and I have this discharge petition. You mentioned it in your monologue that Alita Grajova will be the 218th vote. That is very rare. She should be sworn in on Tuesday. That's the pro forma session. And I just want your viewers to know.
We will not stop talking about the Epstein files on this show. I don't want to say that everything happening in this current administration has to do with deflecting or making sure that we're not talking about it, but often it certainly seems like that. So we're going to keep the pressure on. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, you can click right here or down below to subscribe to my Substack, becoming a free or paid subscriber. One of the best ways to support the show. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.